Over 2,000 years ago, in spring and autumn period China, before China was united, the city-state of Song was facing an imminent destruction. The state of Chu, to the south, the colossal superpower of the time, was preparing an invasion to take the capital city of Song. Not only that Chu had the size and the numerical advantage, it had developed a secret weapon, one that would allow their soldiers to easily overcome Song's defensive walls, the cloud ladder. But the fate of Song is not yet sealed. In fact, it is currently being decided a few hundred miles away at the capital of Chu over a war game. Playing for Chu is the brilliant military engineer called Gong Shuban, a man who will one day be known as the patron god of engineers. And playing for the Song side is an unassuming old man in dirty and ragged clothing who looked like some random carpenter you can find anywhere on the street. Can he really save the state of Song? Oh, you know how this kind of story goes. The mysterious old man always saved the day. It's a given. But who in the world is he? You all remember the burning books and caving scholars tragedy by Qin Shi Huang when he unified China. Only the text of a few schools of thought survived, and among them was the book of Mohism, named after Mozi, the founder of the philosophy. In one episode of Mozi's life, he visited the state of Chu on behalf of the state of Song. He is there to convince them that the invasion will inevitably fail, because him and his followers will defend the tiny state to the death. And to prove it to the king of Chu, he challenged the smartest man in court, the military engineer Gong Shuban, to a war game simulation, pitting their siege engines and strategies against each other. So this is not just some ancient Chinese warhammer. What is at stake here is more than the egos of two engineering nerds. If Mozi were to fail here, then it will reveal the flaws of his plan and proves that Song can be taken. The fate of thousands of Song citizens lies upon his hand, so he must win this game. Meanwhile, Gong Shuban knew that he wasn't going to lose again for the 9th time in a row. The Mohists were a group of philanthropists that preaches the idea of universal love, which is antithetical to the Confucians' belief that the family needs to be prioritized before care is extended outwards. The Mohist thought that if you love everyone equally, family, friends, or strangers, then the world would be a much better place. So they hate wars, especially invasions. But instead of running away at the first sign of an invading army, they would come to the aid of the defender. To the king's dismay, these bleeding heart fools are not idiots. They had some of the most brilliant mathematicians and siege engineers in their rank. Not a surprise since Mozi himself was rumored to be a carpenter, a mere commoner, but their siege weaponry and counter-siege tactics is nothing to be scoffed at. Siege crossbows, wood air scout, and anti-slapping poison gas. These are just some of their arsenals, and for that time period, those are state-of-the-art weaponry. The outcome of the game was unsurprising, with Gong Shuban's last war machine lay crushed on the mock battlefield. Mozi had proven that he can repel all their attacks. He won the game, but it is not over yet. He could read Gong Shuban's expression from across the table. His rival hasn't conceded defeat. Gong Shuban is an exceedingly clever man who is good at thinking out of the box. Just because he lost a simulated war fair and square, it doesn't mean that he would lose a real war, where fighting dirty is an option. Yet, he is an honorable man, so he said, "I know how I can beat you, but I will not say." Mozi replied, "And I know how you think you can beat me, but I will not say that either."
Hey, why are you all laughing? What is it that you can't say? Can somebody explain to me what's happening?
My king, the solution my friend Gong Shuban here is thinking of is easy to guess. He thinks that if he murders me here, then Song will be left defenseless. But it won't. My disciple and 300 followers are already waiting for the Chu army on the city walls of Song. Killing me here won't help you achieve your goals.
The Mohists were also great debaters because they studied logic. Before the game had even started, Mozi had already pointed out the fact that Chu is way more prosperous than the tiny state of Song. In addition, there is still plenty more land their citizens can develop before they need to expand. Even if they have little to nothing to gain from this invasion, perhaps the king doesn't care for the lives of his soldiers, but he would certainly value his reputation. The shame of being defeated by such a small state is hardly worth the risk. The strong reason finally persuaded the Chu king, and Mozi was set free. Despite being great engineers and mathematicians, the Mohists are nothing but nuisance to the rulers of expansionist states. After defending one state from an attack, they will move to the other state to defend it from a retaliatory attack. They have no loyalty to anything than their own silly stubbornness of righteousness. A group of tech nerd mercenaries, Mohists had difficulty finding state sponsors. Later, returning from Chu, when Mozi was traveling through Song, he was caught in a rain. When he tried to find shelter under a gate, the gatekeeper, who didn't recognize him, drove him away. So he had to spend the night in the rain. The story comes from the Mohist text, and it contains a very important Mohist message. You shouldn't expect rewards for doing the right things. Sometimes you might even be punished for it. Unlike the Taoists, the Mohists believe in a personal God. Their version of God is a benevolent one. It desires righteousness. Meanwhile, they believe there is no promise for paradise or everlasting life for being righteous. So they basically have to be righteous just for the sake of it. If you ever watched the movie Divergent, yes, Mohists are just like the faction of Triss family, living a frugal life, being very strict on themselves. But when they help others, they were not expecting anything back as they quietly disappear into the shadows. Everyone likes superhero, but it is hard to be one. So that's why Mohism wasn't a very attractive ideology, even for the common folks. After the mass book burning by Qin Shi Huang in the Qin dynasty, and the state-sponsored promotion of Confucianism, the Mohists had practically disappeared.